Dylan said that I could drive a Mark IV Supra back from the body shop. So I'm currently sitting in a 6-speed turbo right-hand drive Supra. And we're gonna drive it back. And you guys seem to enjoy my little vlog and my impressions on driving the Suzuki Cappuccino, so I'm gonna do the same thing here. Now, the first thing I should say with this car is the seat is kind of stuck all the way back, and I'm kind of short, so I kind of have to slouch in it down a little bit like this to reach the clutch. Clutch, so far, I just kind of pulled it out of the shop. I haven't driven the car. I've never actually driven a Mark IV Supra, but so far, my impression of the clutch, super easy to use. It's a little heavy, but otherwise seems super, super easy. So this will be really interesting. I've never driven a Mark IV Supra, so this is going to be a cool experience. Now, the other reason that I think this is going to be really cool is this Supra is bone stock. So I always like to drive completely stock and original cars just to get the impressions of what it's going to be like, because it's hard to tell.
You want to just follow me?
Yeah, I'll follow you. It's hard to tell with modified cars, and I've driven modified RX-7s and such, and it's always cool to have the stock one as a benchmark. So I'm gonna give you guys my impressions of driving this thing. All right, I hope you guys can see me. I just set my camera down there. I'm gonna follow Dylan, and we're gonna see what this is like. I'll put the window up so you guys can actually hear me. Which way are we going, bud? I don't know where he's going. All right. Oh, camera fell over. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold it up for a little bit. First impression, it spools immediately. There's really no lag. It doesn't really seem to pull that hard, but I love the turbo sounds. That's all you can hear. As we're just cruising along here, I'm gonna put the camera down and get it into 4th gear. Okay, so this is the first JZ car I've ever driven, actually. And I'm in 4th right now. It is the 6-speed, so I'm just gonna give it a little gas and catch up with Dylan a little bit. It feels really, really linear. For being a turbo car, having those sequential turbos, it's really linear, and it spools immediately. You're immediately making boost. Like, that's, as soon as I touch the gas, watch the boost gauge. It just goes. And you get these great little turbo sounds. The car feels big, but it feels planted. This is still on stock suspension, and it still feels very, very well planted. So, I gotta turn here, but I'll update you guys in a second. Okay. So we're making a turn here. I set my camera up. I hope it doesn't fall down. It might be facing a little bit further upwards, but that's kind of the only way I can get it to sit on its own. So I apologize for that, but I'll do a little pull here, just so you guys can get a bit of an impression of this car. All right. For being stock, it's really not slow. It feels really good. It's very, I don't know, it inspires confidence in it. It doesn't feel fast, but it doesn't feel slow. It's really responsive, and for being stock, it feels quick. And that's pretty much kind of the overall impression I get from this car is, I know it's stock. I know it has so much potential. It's a 2JZ, like, it is the legendary motor, but it feels very, very confidence inspiring. It's not too much and it's not too little. It doesn't feel unbearably slow. It's fun. And then again, I've driven a lot of cars. I've driven a lot of cars for Dylan. I will say I drove a stock FDRX7 for Dylan, and that was more fun than this. It was a little bit more exciting, but then again, I actually, believe it or not, think this car has way more potential. I think this has way more potential to be more fun with some mods than an FD does down the line, unless you're going to do a 20B swap. But stock motor for stock motor, I think this car has way more potential to be way more fun. I'm just going to keep recording until my camera runs out of space, and then I'll update you guys once I get back to the shop. But this thing's great. It feels really, really good, really well put together. It actually feels more put together than the RX-7 did. And I drove a modified RX-7 too, and I gotta say that felt more fun than this. But stock for stock, this is a fantastic car. I love this car. God, Dylan, you're a terrible influence on me. You keep making me want expensive right-hand drive cars that I'll never be able to own. It's not fair. It's not fair, man. Oh, I love those turbo sounds. You hear the blow-off valve every single time, no matter what RPM you're at. I'm just above 2K right now and already building boost. I'm at like 2100 RPM and already building boost. It spools really quickly. It feels almost NA, but you do get that immediate sense that the car is producing more power from the turbos, and you can feel that second turbo kick on when you get higher in the rev range, which is super cool. I just have to keep track of Dylan, so I'm trying to figure out where I am. His body shop's not really near anything that I'm normally driving around, so I get lost out here, but this is super cool. Hello, Miata. There's a Miata. It's always weird seeing Miatas when I'm not in mine. I can't blink my headlights at them. This car is fantastic. You can feel the weight, which is something, it doesn't feel boaty. It doesn't really float around. The car still handles great. I mean, going around a few corners like we have here, the car still feels like it has plenty of grip. Steering's actually really good. All of these cars from Japan usually need an alignment, so I think this one definitely does. I think he recently got this one, and they always do that before. Fuck, my camera keeps falling over. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put it down for a second, and I'll give you guys my impressions when we get back to the shop. All right, we're just cruising on the freeway a little bit. You gotta listen to these turbo noises. Oh God, it's so good. You can't hear the motor at all. It's all turbo. It sounds so good. And this is the 6-speed. I'm cruising in 5th right now, and I really don't need 6th gear. It's still cruising at a lower RPM than my Miata would be. 6th gear is really only for really long trips, and I don't really even feel the need to use it. It's more fun just to be able to put your foot down. And there's still response in 5th gear, so this is great. Oh man, it's so good. Okay, so we're not back at the import, guys. We actually went to Dylan's mechanic guy that does all of the mechanical work on any car that he brings over, that apparently we're dropping this car off at. But first impressions of this Supra, it's great. There are a few things that I would note, and the first thing is TJ Hunt has one of these that has a lot of power, and I gotta say, he's right about the brakes. I wouldn't trust these brakes with anything more than stock power. They are fine for stock power, absolutely fine for stock power, but anything more, I wouldn't trust it with. So that's literally my only complaint with this car. Otherwise, it's fantastic, and I see why they hold their value so well. This car is great. Toyota, you did a good job with the Mark IV. I don't know about the Mark V, and I've never driven Mark III, but this Mark IV is ridiculous and fantastic. Alright, so I might as well show you guys the car. It's super clean. All stock. Absolutely all stock. I honestly love it. It's so good. Love me a Supra.
And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the classics.